Live. Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hello.
Happy Friday.
Welcome.
Hey from VT, Virginia Tech. Just kidding, Vermont. Awesome. From India. Holy cow. Tulsa, Delaware, the first state.
I saw London in there too.
No way.
Yeah.
Right? That's so cool. Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. Nick Martin, our cold opener, usually does some, or warm-up guy, I should say, usually does the where are you from's, but you guys are doing it anyway. I love it.
I know,
Washington, Missouri.
Brazil. Wow.
Brazil. Dang. Iowa.
Awesome.
Been there. Orlando. Been there. That's cool. Atlanta.
Hey, I'm from Atlanta. Into
there you go. Corona, California. Vegas. That's cool. How's everybody doing? Pretty good. Excited. We got a lot of people in here. About almost 300 people hanging out live. Really, really cool. Really, really exciting. So welcome. We'll jump right in. We'll introduce ourselves and kind of just talk about what we're going to talk about. What's going on? Dang, everything's flowing in. This is so cool. I don't think I've ever seen so many people in one of these chats.
Yeah, this is crazy. Cool.
Cool. Sweet guys. So I'm Steve. This is Laura, or I don't know which side she's on from me to you. This is Laura. We're on the customer success team. Laura is a customer success manager, and she works directly with accounts to help optimize and make sure everybody's getting the most out of it. Every single one of you, just so you know, every single one of you, if you're a subscriber, you do have access to a customer success manager. It might not be Laura, but you do have that. So if you're not sure who that is, you can always just email us at success@printavo.com. My name is Steve Leishman. Laura and I actually started at Printavo about the same time, about 2.5 years ago. I think I got like 2 weeks on her. So we've been around the block. We've seen this thing grow with a lot of you folks. We see a lot of names we recognize in the chat, a lot of names we haven't seen before. But this is all super, super cool. Just watching this stuff grow and evolve and watching ideas take shape and ideas that you've had and we've had and, you know, just come from something somebody maybe said in passing at a trade show to being something that you can click in Printavo. It's really, really cool to see. So, you know, thank you all for being a part of this. So what are we talking about today? I forgot. I'm going to cancel this. We should just go home. Happy Friday, everybody. Just kidding. So today we're going to talk about Printavo's brand new automations, which are currently in beta. We have a few beta testers, you know, helping us out with this, but we have a broad release coming in the coming weeks. But because these are going to, you know, everybody's going to have these automations now, we wanted to just, you know, get everybody's attention in a large group and just show you, right? Hey, what's it going to look like? How's this going to impact me? What's new? What's different? And all that. And we'll definitely have some time at the end for a little Q&A. If you have questions, please feel free to put them in the little chat box, again, wherever that is. And we have a bunch of members of the Printavo team in the chat room who can answer. We'll call out the important questions too. If we miss something, I'm sorry. You can also just email us at success@printavo and we'll answer you and make sure that is taken care of. So who's ready for automations? I'm looking at the chat.
Let's get it. Long time coming. I know as somebody I started off with support, then I changed over to success. So I talk to shops all day, every day. And I would say automations is the one thing I hear over and over and over again. So yeah. I think this is a big deal. We're so excited to show you guys.
Yeah, if you're having echo issues, just double check. Sometimes I've seen it before where like we might be open in a couple of windows or on a couple of screens. So it's just kind of bouncing around. So just double check that. But, auto taco, that sounds delicious. Great, cool. Well, hey, let's jump in. Enough out of me. I've yik-yacked enough. Let's go in. So I am on one of my many Printavo accounts here. And first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to head into my account. And once the new automations are in place, the first thing you may or may not notice, right? My account effectively looks the same, but what's gone here, what used to live in between here, are your status change notifications. Now, if you use status change notifications, just like push 1, push 5, just do something. Be like, hey, I love status change notifications, or maybe you don't, whatever. Just like, who's aware of status change notifications? We'll let that settle. Now, the reason I bring up status change notifications is in the previous system, or I guess technically the current system, status change notifications are automatic notifications that go out when a status has changed, right? So what we did was we got rid of those and we encapsulated those into our automations. So if you notice that that's missing, that's why. But we'll get back to the sort of details of that in a minute. Let's jump into the actual automation page. So here you go, right? Looks a little different. Now, this, just to kind of give some context, normally, right, if I went into my account and clicked automations, you'd have those, those like 7 lines that are, you click on the thing, you turn them on and off, you pick your statuses, whatever. But now with automations, you have the ability to combine and create triggers and actions instead of depending on the ones that we give you. Right, so I'll let you all kind of soak in the main page here for a moment. But what I'll do then, and what we'll kind of do is I'll click into I'll build an automation from scratch. We'll kind of cover what's different, what's new, and then we'll get into questions. So let's build an automation and look at the new page. So the first thing you're going to see here, and just to give a little context, all I did was I just clicked on create automation. It's that easy to make an automation. So go create automation. Now, the first thing you're going to see here is you can name your automation. Truth be told, as I go through the process, I typically do that last, but you'll see that you actually have the ability to name your automation. So you can call it like my quote approval messaging, or, you can be real specific, text and email the customer when this thing happens. The reason I bring that up is because a really good practice or habit to get into is call it whatever you want, but be consistent with your naming. That's just going to help you stay organized. Just a little tip from having played with these a whole bunch myself and working with Laura and shops and getting feedback on that. But we'll come back to this. Now, again, the sort of primary, I guess, appeal here, in my opinion, is this trigger action combination. So if any of you use Zapier, right, it's similar, right? When this happens, do this. Now, to be fair, that's what our current automations do, except, again, we've sort of picked the if and the then for you. We've picked the trigger, we've picked the action. You just kind of fill in the blanks of like the sub blanks, right? But now you have your triggers, right? So you can say your different triggers are based on approvals, right? So remember, you can create any type of approval you want in Printavo. So when something's approved, you can trigger an action. When an invoice is paid in full, you can trigger an action. And when the status gets changed to whatever, you can also trigger an action. So I'll come back to those. Let's look at the actions, right? What actions can you trigger? Well, you can now email and text in one fell swoop, right? Eliminating that, Mike Dorrance, our head of product, he calls it the micro statuses, right? So if you have like send quote approval email, send quote approval text, you don't have to do that anymore. Right? You used to, because the status change notifications, which we kind of touched on earlier, you can only have one notification or communication per status. You had to do that, right? You had to break those down. Now, right, one status can trigger these multiple actions, right? These multiple communications, right? So going back to the actions, you can send an email and or a text, right? And the texting is still a feature of the premium tier. So that's really the only limitation. There's no more like advanced automations, basic automations, anything like that. You can apply a task group when a trigger happens. You can request a percentage of payment when a trigger happens. You can request an approval type when a trigger happens. And you can change the status when a trigger happens, right? Now, again, just to sort of beat the dead horse, if you will, is you can combine any trigger with any action, right? So probably in the time, Lauren, I have been here, I would say a top 10 or even top 5 request I have heard about automations is I want to be able to use more than one task group or automate the use of more than one task group. Well, now you can, right? Because again, you select any trigger, combine it with any action, which means you can apply multiple task groups, right? So let's build an automation out. Right. So let's do a status change. Right. Let's say we want to send out an approval. Right. Let's do like a quote approval. Right. What I can do is say when a status changes to, let's say quote approval sent. Right. And yours might look different. You call whatever you want. But let's say quote approval sent. Then I have an action. Well, in this case, I want to send out an approval, right? Now, again, previously with approvals and with payments, the act of establishing the approval and making the payment request were separate from the communication piece. Whereas now, if I want to request an approval, in this case, I probably want to request a quote approval, right? That makes sense. When I click request an approval, I can request an approval type. So let's say I want to request my quote approval. And again, instead of having the separate approval and separate messaging, I can say, let's send an email and let's send a text message. So that's automatic for you now in one fell swoop, right? A couple things to note here, some new-ish and improved features here. Looking specifically here, I'll uncheck this just so it's not distracting. Looking specifically at the email line, you'll see we now actually have CC and Bcc capabilities. We've added some short codes, right? If you use our short codes, this is just dynamic text that if you haven't used these before, this is just dynamic text that replaces necessary information. So for example, I could do, we have one of the newer ones, I believe, is invoice owner email address, for example, right? So if every time I send out a quote approval, right, I want to CC or BCC the job owner internally, I can just do that. And that'll be dynamic to the actual owner of the job, right? And then of course I could put the customer email address. Whoopsie, that's way too much information. There we go. Put the customer information in the to, or email address in the to field. And I can always email me specifically if I want to, right? Or if I want it to be in the BCC instead, and I can do that as well. I can be just, comma separated, and that'll work, right? And then of course, include your subject line body, fairly straightforward. And then same thing with the text messaging, right? And again, texting available for premium subscribers. If you have questions about texting, just let us know. But we have short codes for phone numbers, right? So if you want to just text the customer to their phone number, right, then just fill in that information so you don't have to fill it out every single time. Mm-hmm. Now, we used the approval as an example, but the payment request is the same thing, right? It's not going to fill in the information again. But if I say, hey, let's request a payment, I can, again, send that request email, send that request text, and then whatever percentage that you wanted to fill.
Yeah, right? And just to hop in here real
quick.
Yes,
please. Sorry, I can't see the chat or anything, so I can't see faces.
Yeah, so just to kind of talk about two main questions that I saw pop up. All of the automations that you guys have, all your status change notifications that you currently have on your account, they will not be affected by this at all. They will show up as is in the new automation. So none of your day-to-day thing will be updated or changed or affected when this new automation feature is rolled out. So just notice that. Also,
awesome point.
This is not just for premium people. Everyone, regardless of your tier, is going to have access to these new automations. And as Steve mentioned, I would say the huge thing with the payment requests is before on your automations, payment requests could only be sent out automatically for an approval. So if an approval is made, then you send a payment request. Now you can send a payment request just for a status. So you can have that first 50% deposit automatically requested when an approval is made, maybe at the beginning, and then you want that rest of that 50% to be requested when it's completed. You can do that now. So you just have so much more customization. You can really automate your entire approval, entire payment, entire process. So some major changes here. And Steve, I'll let you keep going.
No, that was good. That's really, really important because, and again, I've been working more on the very objective, this is how it works education side. Laura's been working more directly with shops who've been beta testing. So she's got a little more kind of internal feedback, or she's like more directly exposed to it. So you're going to have that best context. So thank you. But yeah, that's a great point. Because that's another question we used to get. What if I wanted to request 50% now and the rest later? Now you can do that. Right. Now, just to be clear, you do 50%, at this stage, and then 100% at this stage. Because if you keep doing 50, you'll just never get there, right? But yeah, you can do that now. Is the point? And yes, and I apologize if I wasn't clear. These will be available to everybody. And again, just to reiterate the point, we are still, of course, in beta. Part of the beta is figuring out, the delineations and the markers of, how many we're able to, basically distribute per account, and how we're going to add more, and just the different methods. So that's all just, we're trying to figure out what makes the most sense for you folks. So that's a big part of the beta. Now, with that said, we've kind of covered a lot here. Let me go. Sorry, where did my window go? There we go. Great. Okay, cool. So then once you create, my window shot over. I'm sorry. There we go. Once you create your automation, right, then you just name it, right? So if I said, I'll make a real one, right? So I can say if, say online store approval is approved, then I can apply my build online store task group or my production test prep task group. Now, I think I actually already have one in this account for this. So if I try to save it, it wouldn't work just in this particular example. I have a lot of automations in this account, but I could call this, apply online store task group when store is approved, right? And again, call it literally whatever you want. You can change it later. You're not locked into anything. But now when I save that, what's going to happen is that automation will become one of these bars or one of these cards, however you want to call it. Each one of these cards is one automation. So that's important to clarify. So for example, this top one here, sorry, I can't select it because it drags the whole thing. But this top one here says, hey, we're going to text and email the quote approval to the customer. So sorry to be boring and read this out loud, but we say, hey, if we change the status to quote approval sent, then we're going to request an approval. We're going to send an email to the customer, and we're going to send a text to the customer. Even though that's 3 things, because it's on one card, that's one automation. Right? You turn your automations on and off simply with this toggle. You just say, hey, I don't want to use that one right now. Right? You're going to test it out. No big deal. Edit, delete, accept, etc. Right? You'll see also you have your different icons here. That's just to help you stay organized. And each icon is associated with the actual action that's happening. So for example, a check mark is related to approvals. The lightning bolt is a status change. The card is a payment request, etc., etc. Also, if you want to rearrange, right, because everybody likes to group things differently, or maybe you made one later and you want to move it up and down, it's literally, it's a click and a drag. It's that easy, and you'll see that the updating takes place when you get your sort of your green, I guess, thumbs up, so to speak. Lastly, right, what we can look at are your filtering. Right, your filtering options, because some of you might have 50 automations. Some of you might have 5 automations, right? But if you have like 100 automations, it can be hard to keep track of things. So what you can do is say, hey, you know what? Let me double check and make sure I have an automation set for when an invoice is paid in full, right? Or maybe a few automations for when an invoice is paid in full. You can filter by your trigger, right? Or you can filter by your action. Or if you want to see what automations you have for statuses, then you can filter by status. Now you'll see some of these are grayed out. All that means is I just don't have an automation built for that status, so it's not going to select it, right? Like I can't select quote, like I'm clicking real hard on my computer here. Nothing's going to happen because I don't have one. But if I want to see everything that's going on for quote, let's say quote approved awaiting payment, you'll see I have 2 things happening here, right? So in this case, when we go into the status quote approved awaiting payment, then we're going to change the status, right? And we're going to request 100% payment in this case. And again, you can request what you'd like. Now, one other point I want to touch on quickly is something that Laura did mention is yeah, whatever workflow you have now will be completely unaffected, right? When this migration happens, all of your stuff in our engineering, shout out to our engineering team, Mike and Nick and Peter and just everybody over there for working so hard on it, because they've spent a ton of time on getting this migration right, so your workflow doesn't get messed up, is like I said, whatever you have now, your Printavo account will function exactly the same, right? If we migrated over and you never clicked into my account and automations, you would never know there was a change because everything would be exactly the same. But we, of course, don't encourage that. We want you to explore and optimize and streamline and just make all the more connections now that you were sort of limited to making previously. Laura, anything to add to my jabber there?
Do you want to hit on, I saw a couple people asked about
Sure.
max automations per tier, like how many they'll be able to get?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that is one of those, I guess that's one of the factors we're trying to figure out with the beta plan. So I don't have an answer for you just yet, but we'll make it known, right? The other thing is, like, if you have, like, if you're currently, for whatever reason, like over that limitation, we're not going to take, like, for the migration part of it, nothing will be taken away from you, right? We're not going to hinder your workflow because we made a change on you, right? So don't worry about that part of it.
Yeah. And a good thing with these, since we are combining those status change notifications with the automations and just having them all just be automations, you actually, as long as you guys have some status change notifications set up previously, you're going to have more automations to play around with. And a lot of these status change notifications, as Steve kind of mentioned, you'll be able to combine. I see a lot of shops, especially on premium accounts, that want to text and email their customers. They have to set up 2 separate status change notifications, one to email, one to text. Now you can do that all on one automation, one of those little cards. So that one status change notification kind of field that you had before, you can use that for something else. So these are really customizable, and you'll be able to, when it's on your account, you guys will be able to play with it, see what you can take out, see what you want to add. But yeah, just something to note. And but yeah, again, just want to reiterate this will not affect anything. It will not change anything moving forward. It's just you can do more now.
Perfect.
So it won't update anything.
Yes. Now 2 quick things. One, just to show you this, because I'm really happy about this, honestly, because I've gotten the question so many times, and I've also really wanted this feature, right? I'm going to just sort by the action of applying a task group. Look, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, right? Like, it used to be just the one. So boom, there you go. You can apply multiple task groups. Now I'm using that to segue into a question I saw. I apologize. It already scrolled up, but somebody had asked, can you trigger an automation based on a completed task group? Not just yet. So right, what you're seeing now, what we have here, this is sort of like version 1 of our automation version 2, so to speak. Meaning, we had to really build out this base and this framework so we can now more easily add things like time-based automations. I saw somebody ask about, can you, like, summarizing, but can you press somebody or bump an approval if they don't approve it? Not right this minute, but that is coming, right? So you can say, for example, if this status doesn't change for 72 hours, then this message, or change it to this status, right? That sort of stuff is coming. And because we have this framework now, it's going to be a lot easier to add those things. So that actually goes to say, that's another thing we're trying to collect from beta, right? What did we maybe, I don't want to say what did we miss, because we just wanted to get this initial framework, right? But what will be beneficial for you now that we have this framework and can build upon it? And just to be clear, that probably wouldn't be coming out with a broad release initially, but as we evolve automations, like, that's where we're going to really rely on your ears and what you're looking forward to really help continue to improve this particular feature. Awesome. I use tasks, but I just happened to catch this. I use tasks, but what are task groups? Is it the same? Kind of. So task groups are made up of individual tasks. And just since I'm here, I don't mind showing you, right? And actually, this is going to be really important. And that actually is a great question, because I think it sort of speaks to how much more influential task groups are going to be now that they are more prominent, right? They have more power now, or in this system, than they do in Printavo, today, January 15th, right? So I'll show you real quick. If you're not using task groups, if you're not familiar with task groups, if you go to my account, and I'm opening it in a new tab here. and I scroll down, you'll see you have a section, and this will be in your account right now. Everybody has access to this. It's just your preset task list, right? If you don't see this, you might just not be set up as an admin in your account, but all administrators have access to this. Now, if I click into my preset task list, you'll see you can set out groups of tasks, right? So when there's repetitive things that happen, right? I have this build online store thing, right? So if I'm using Printavo merch and there's a certain amount of things that I do every single time, you can pre-assign tasks to individuals, right? I have these unassigned, but if you've used tasks, you know what the tasks looks like, the tasks look like, but you can, instead of like making 10 tasks every time you have to build a store, right? You just create this task group called build an online store. And then on a job, right, you can always manually add these task lists, but do I have any jobs in this account? Sorry, like I said, this is kind of one of my, oh yeah, I'm sure I do. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry, folks. Cool. So I'll just use this one here. This job that comes with the Printavo account, right? So if I go to my tasks, right, you can manually add these task lists, or using those automations, right, we can see those in action, right? They'll fire off automatically, right? So let me see, actually, I think, do I have, oh, come on. Okay, so here's a great example. Let's look at this purple one, right? So production team, tasks automatically, blah, blah, blah. All right, so when I change the status to ready for production, then my task list called ready for production will go off, right? So if I say ready for production, we have 10 tasks on this job now. I'm going to switch it to ready for production. And now we have 12 tasks. So I guess there were only 2 in that one, but I believe it was these 2. And then you can just check them off as you go. So rather than having to go into the tasks and say, what's your preset task list, you can have those multiple tasks assigned via status. So I apologize. I missed who asked that because it's scrolling up so fast. But I hope that answered your question.
I kind of piggyback off that. Working with a lot of shops. I mean, obviously, a lot of shops do more than one process. They do embroidery, screen printing, DTG, a bunch of different things. And you have statuses around those. And previously you were kind of limited because you could have one status for like in production, screen printing, or ready for production screen printing. And that one status could trigger a task group. But then if you had in production embroidery, you couldn't do anything else. And now you can. So all of those different types of statuses that you have around the different types of jobs can now kind of automatically send out these checklists, these to-do lists to different people in your shop, letting them know that like, okay, it's this an embroidery job. Here's your set list of things that you need to do for this job to be ready. Same for screen printing. So these task groups are so huge. And I would say like as somebody that works with shops in Printavo daily, I would say that task groups are probably arguably the most underutilized feature that we have. And now with these automations, absolutely, you guys can use them more because they're automatically sent out.
Yeah, and Mike and the production team, because they've become more important, they're giving a little bit more attention to these two to tidy these up and make them even easier to use for you. I saw a question and I lost it.
They're rolling in.
So yeah, someone asked, Stacy, when a quote's approved, can you automatically assign the art production tasks? Yep, absolutely. And that's a great live question, right? So let's look at that live and how you would build that, right? Because why not, right? So if I go to my automation, now let's pretend I didn't have any of these here, right? I'm just building this from scratch. I could say, right, sorry, what was the specific? I already lost it. Can I set up automation so when a quote is approved, it can assign tasks? Yes. So you would just say when blank is approved, right? So in this case, quote, right? There's my quote. When quote is approved, then apply my task group, right? So then you can do, just you're ready for production or whatever it is, right? So then you have that. Now this is that one automation, but if you also want to request payment, right? You would save this. Okay, you save this one, right? That's off to the side. Then you also want to request payment when a quote is approved. Then you just make another automation that says if blank is approved, right? And quote is approved, then request whatever percentage of payment you want, 100%, 50%, 70%, whatever the heck you want to do, right? And then send out those communications. So just to kind of touch on this yet again, one trigger can result in multiple actions. So one status change can do, 5, 6 different things. One,
seven different things. It can do
Yeah,
7.
actually, I can look. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yep.
5. Yeah. So you can, what's it called? So one status can trigger multiple actions, one approval can trigger multiple actions, and a full payment can trigger multiple actions. So it's not one-to-one is the important takeaway from that.
Yep.
Oop, there you go.
A couple other, that's probably done with that question.
Yes, I think so.
I know you've talked about this before, but I see a lot of people asking about if there's going to be like time-based automations. So like if there's like a reorder or if somebody hasn't followed up and like a follow-up email, something like that, that's coming. Not yet.
Yeah.
It won't be on this first version, but that is something we're working on.
Yeah, we kind of call them loosely here time-based automations. I mean, I guess that kind of sums up what they are, but that's really what it is. They're time-based triggers, right? So like I kind of glanced over this previously, but I think I gave an example of like if an approval, like if a job, I think it's going to look something like if a job is in X status for 90 hours, then change it to this status, and then that status can send a notification, just as an example. But yes, that is coming. Awesome. Cool. All right. Actually, as I see, we have these ask a question things here. Can we split an email address based on our client's job position? Right now, we have their art department for final approval, and their financial department to request payments, getting all status changes. Oh, okay. Sorry. So like if you were printing for Printavo, you want to send billing to one address, you want to send approvals to a different address. Is that the question? That was Rob? Let me know if I got that right. I'm going to, I don't know if I did get that right, but I'm going to answer that question because we do get it a lot. Not right now, but that's something these new automations have really like that. The need for that, I'm sure has always like definitely existed, but the need for that splitting into like billing and this, that, the other has really brought, the new automations has brought that need really to the forefront. So that's something we're definitely aware of. I don't have answers on like, when that's going to come out, but that is absolutely something we're aware of and something we get asked a lot. So not right now is my answer, but hopefully soon. Let's see. What's next? Can you automate the deposit and payment amount showing on the invoice without an email or text being sent? Yep. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, you don't have to. Sorry, I got confused with my screen share. Yeah, so I don't have to select these. It's just if you want to proactively communicate. So if I hit save now, well, it wouldn't save because I didn't put a name and I already have this automation. But if I just click saved, you're not going to get an error for not having these selected. Completely up to you. Are there any scheduling options with the trigger? No, that I think, okay, that's sort of the time-based thing, so not yet. Automatic reorders from the client side, not with this, but you could, again, with that time-based stuff, you could prompt them, right? Like after, when it's been in completed status for, I'm just throwing out 60 days, email them, do you need this again? Or when it's been like, 6 months or whatever. So that's coming. Would you be able to send us some of the automations that you all have come up with thus far? Yeah, sure. Why not? So actually, later today, we're going to be sending all admins. We have a help desk article on this. It's just kind of going to be a recap of everything we've talked about today. Coming after that, we're going to have like sort of more with the broad release. We're going to have like a best practices. What we've seen people using, this, that, and the other. And again, if you if you have questions about it, like, hey, what are people doing well? What's like maybe not working as well as people thought? Just email your success manager, and they'll be happy to work with you. And again, if you're not sure who that is, that's just success, SUCCESS @printavo.com, and we will help. How or what will the process be if you have chosen email and text, but the customer claims to not have received the text, yet all the information is correct? I think that's more of a process thing. I can't recall. I know we recently, for our emails, we recently added the feature where we mark if it's been delivered within Printavo. You can say it's been delivered, it's been read, it's been opened. I can't off the top of my head remember if that works with the text messaging. Do you remember, Laura?
Yeah, I think if it's a number that is not accurate and we can't deliver it to it, it'll give you some error. It'll say like
Cool.
undelivered or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it'll say on there if it's been delivered or if there is an issue. But that's kind of difficult though if they say they didn't get it and it doesn't say an issue. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, some smartphones now do have like spam filters for stuff. Like usually like it's, the weird websites that are sending me stuff that can filter there, but like we haven't really been filtering into text spams that I've heard. So
Yeah.
you can have them check there, but I wouldn't anticipate that.
Mhm.
Okay. How about marking products need to order triggered by approval? Purchase orders are not yet triggered into the automations, purchase order features, but very good question. Is it possible to filter the trigger for an automation similar to Zapier? For example, if a quote is approved and order total is less than $1,000, then do X. No, not at the moment, but I do really like that idea. I couldn't tell you for sure if that's on the agenda, but that's a great one to, you can email that into success@printavo.com. You can also put that into printavo.com/ideas. A lot of people don't know this exists. I'll put it in the chat right now. It's just www.printavo.com/ideas. And that's our ideas board where you can upvote, other people's ideas, search for ideas people have had. You can add your own ideas. And then, our product team takes a look at that and then sort of decides, hey, let's consolidate and figure out, how we can make these changes. Not everything, of course, will happen, or not everything happens, as fast as we wanted to in some cases, but those comments don't fall on deaf ears. So especially, as we're going to be like focused so heavily on these automations, then we're going to be looking for those.
I got to plug in my computer real quick. 1 second.
Oh yeah, sure, no problem. Cool. All right, let me. Does anybody have any other questions? How about a notification if an automation failed? I can't. We don't have that right now. That's a good like .com/ideas thing. But that actually brings up a good thought. Is I always recommend, and I know Laura always recommends, that when you're like building out automations and when you're building out your Printavo account, when you're trying to make improvements to your Printavo account, make yourself a customer and make sure you use like, your cell phone number, your personal email address, like not the shop one, just so then you're not, there's no confusion as to what email's going to who, coming from what, right? Set yourself up as a customer and then run through the process, right? Did this automation work the way I expected to? If so, cool. If not, okay, what do I need to change, right? Or is it something on the back end? Is it Printavo? Is it something we have set up? We'll figure that out. So no, what's it called? No failure notifications. But that's I do like that idea.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Cool. Okay, Laura, just let me ask you this, since again you've been talking to customers. What's like maybe some of the most common feedback you've heard, or just positive or constructive or otherwise, or just what have you heard from just overall from our customer base?
Yeah. So like you mentioned, we do have, a couple shops on the beta right now. And so all the success managers have been talking to them, walking them through the beta, getting feedback. And I would say by far the main two things that we have seen are the task groups that we've talked about, utilizing those more. Like I mentioned previously, shops really aren't utilizing those, and now they are, which is great. And being able to request that, the payment request for status change instead of just the approvals. Those are the main ones I've seen. I know some people are maybe a little concerned with like how things are migrated over. But like Steve, you mentioned, you are able to, I would say when this happens on your account, utilize those filters that you can see right there, the filter by triggers, actions and statuses. Go by each status and see kind of what you already have set up. And that way you can kind of organize exactly like that. You can organize your workflow to make sure you have every kind of step automated if you can have it automated. Yeah, so just really
great
kind of,
suggestion.
yeah, just use those filters to kind of narrow down those windows a little bit to see what you have, because a lot of people have like a ton of status change notifications. Those are going to come over, so it's going to look like you have a ton of automations. So you can kind of just narrow those down, make sure you have everything, and it'll be a little less overwhelming.
And that brings up a good point. So like, what's it going to look like when a migration happens? The migration code is set up to like, it'll be very clear, like what was a status change notification, what was an automation, right? That you'll know. And because status change notifications are like formally no more, and they're integrated with the automations themselves, you can effectively get rid of any status change notification you have. Let me rephrase that. I wouldn't say get rid of. You can combine those into your other ones, right? So then you just, you take the communication portion of the status change notification, put it into like, say, the approval section, get rid of your status change notification. And to Laura's other point, as far as like, trying to organize everything, because this is brand new, right? Like you're looking at it on my screen and I've already cleaned this stuff up, right? Like this is like an organized page, so to speak. Yours might not look as organized right away, right? There's just kind of a way around that. It's just everything gets dumped in. So what is the best way to organize it? Exactly what Laura says. Matt Marcotte, one of our success managers, he calls it the waterfall, right? The status waterfall. Go to your statuses. All right, what do I have for this status? What do I have for this status, right? And then if you had like a status change notification for this and a different action for this, then you can say, okay, cool, let me copy the text from my status notification, put it in here, get rid of, nip out the status change, the old status change notification, and just combine that, right? Optimize, be more efficient.
And something I just want to reiterate now, a single status change can email the customer, text the customer, email internally, text internally, assign a task group, request a payment, and request an approval just by one status change. So now you have 7 different things that can be triggered by just you clicking to a different status of your job, which is huge.
Awesome. Yeah, it really is. I see Derek. I know there's beta testers currently. Sorry, I'm kind of going back between windows. I apologize if I'm only catching some of your questions. But Derek, I know there's beta testers currently. When will this release actually occur for all users? This is going to be in the coming weeks. We just want to make sure everything is as ironed out as possible before we put it out. And we're doing things like this, educational things. So it's like not a surprise and it's like, whoa, and there's questions, right? We want to make this as seamless a transition for you. So in the coming weeks, this will be out. Speaking of beta testers, right, we are looking for some more beta testers. So we do have something like 300 plus people in here now. We realistically probably can't have 300 more beta testers just because we just don't have that capability. But if you email into success@printavo.com, again, success@printavo.com, you can put just something in the subject line like, automation beta test or something like that. We will do our best to get you on it. But due to high demand and just, capabilities, we won't realistically probably be able to get everybody on it. But again, this full thing is coming out in a couple of weeks. So if you want a couple of weeks of beta, if you want to try for a couple of weeks of beta, shoot us that email. The only thing we ask of you is that you give us, if you're selected for the beta, that you give us as much feedback as you can, because that's going to help the broad release for everybody just be better. So again, that's success here. I'll even put it in here, success@printavo.com, enter, right? That's thanks, Jess, Jinx. So there you go. Okay. That's about, I think, all I have. I know we had this marked off till 1 o'clock. Anything else that you wanted to cover, Laura, that perhaps we maybe glanced over or missed or anything like that?
Yeah, you hit on pretty much everything that I've been talking to the beta shops on. I did see 2 other good questions here real quick. Can automation be built in that is not linked to a status? For example, if you request X approval, then automatically request X deposit payment? Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll show you that right now. So just so you can visualize this, right? When something is approved, right? Let's just say the artwork is approved, then request payment. It's that simple. So to reiterate, again, you can combine any of these 3 triggers with any of these 6 actions.
Right. I think she also was asking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I mean, that's perfect though. So yeah, you can have 2 different approvals that do something at the same time. So you can request that approval and then also automatically request that deposit, which is what Steve just did. So that's but that's if you want them to be like available at the same time, you can have both kind of show up at the same time, or you can have that approval be approved and then trigger that payment request. So you can do it kind of either way. Another question we got, will I need to be on the new calendar to migrate over? No, I don't think
I don't
so.
believe so. I think this works on the old calendar. I'm like 95% sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is too.
Yeah. And when we say new calendar, because we migrated to a new calendar system before I started, so it's probably been about 3 years now. But if you have questions about like the updated calendar, if you've signed up for Printavo in the last 3 years, you're on the new calendar. If you signed up, maybe I'll say a ballpark it like before 2017 or maybe early 2017, and you're not sure, shoot us an email. Let's put it this way. If your calendar says filter by status, then versus just filter, then you're on the old calendar.
Yeah, cool. And just confirmed.
If you don't get this window, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. I think I went out there. Yeah, just confirmed from our engineering team, the new calendar is not required. So regardless of what calendar you have, you are good. You are good.
Yeah. But if you want to update your calendar, email us at success@Printavo. We'll get you on the new calendar. One of the bigger, I mean, it's not too many differences. One of the big ones, if you click it, you get a preview modal of the job. You can change your statuses right from here versus clicking on the job and being brought right into it and changing from here. It's just a slightly different functionality, which again, I as long as I've been here, it's been this calendar, so I can't really speak to the change, but that's all since it came up.
Steve, while you're on this screen too, can you quickly show again, I know you previously did, can you just show people again where to create those preset task groups? Because you don't create them in the automation section. You create them somewhere differently.
Yes, really good question. So you just go to my account right here in the top right, my account. And again, if you don't see some of the stuff that I'm seeing on my screen, it might be a permissions thing, or you might not be an admin, just like talk to your administrator. But if you are a super admin in Printavo, you just go to my account. Let me scroll down. It's toward the bottom here. It's just preset task list. And hey, you know what the heck? Let's make one real quick so you can see how it works. Right, so I'm just going to the bottom. So first thing you do is you make a task group, right? So you can say, hey, let me make a task group and call it, Friday webinar. Nope, that's not right. Webinar, there we go. So I'll create that group. So once this refreshes, cool. So here's our Friday webinar task group. Now, if I want to assign a task, right, I'm seeing a lot of taco talk in the chat. I don't know where that started, but it's making me want tacos, right? So we say order tacos. Right, I can add that as a task, and I'm going to make Matt Marcotte order those tacos. Right, and then I can say eat tacos. Right, I'm going to add that as a task, and I'm going to assign that to me. Right, it says Matt's on there, but only I get the tacos. Now, if I go to the job or an automation, let me do automation since we're talking about those. Right, I can make an automation that says, let's get Steve some dang tacos. I can say when the final approval is approved, then let's apply where'd my tacos? Oh, Friday webinar. There we go. Apply my Friday webinar task group. So I just made that, right? Let's get Steve some dang tacos. So I go to my job, and then I probably just set it as status. I wasn't thinking, sorry. Here, I'll just throw a final approval on there real quick. Oh, this actually reminds me of something, which I'll tell you in a second. So there's my approval, right? I'll approve this approval. Final approval. Taco Steve, right? I'm going to approve that. Now, if I go back to my job here, right, we have those 10 tasks. I'm just going to refresh the page. Now we have those 2 tasks because of that automation, right? Where are they? Order tacos, eat tacos. So that's how that works. You can also send me tacos. I live in Chicago. Just send it to Chicago. I'll find them.
We'll find them.
We'll find them. Just leave them somewhere. Awesome. Oh, yes. That was the other thing. Sorry. I do want to touch on this because there was some confusion about this with the beta testing. I shouldn't say there was confusion, but it was just like a thing that nobody was ever really aware of that was brought to light is automations or approvals in general will now override previously set approvals, right? So what I did just out of pure force of habit was I deleted an approval that was on here. I X'd it out, right? So let's say I have, I'll just say a quote approval, right? I have a quote approval on here now. So if I go to my public invoice view and just refresh this, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of zipping around. If you're not familiar with the public invoice view, if you go to more actions, public invoice view, that's just what the customer would be seeing at any point. Of course, they wouldn't have your admin view, but they have everything else, right? I have the quote approval on here. If I change this to, I think I had it art out for approvals, art approval sent, and if I change this status, right? Now, if I refresh this, oh, maybe it hasn't taken, oh, you know what? This might not have come out yet. But basically the approval will overwrite the approval that already exists, right? So there's no confusion of like, oh, hey, why didn't this approval take place when I fired that off? I apologize. That's not out yet, but that is coming out I think in our next sprint. So approvals from automations and just new approvals will overwrite previous approvals. So just to clear that up, it's something that's come from this. So I wanted to just point that out. And I am all about Taco Hustlers Conference 2022. Why wait, really?
Let's get it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, these are great.
Cool. Okay, well, we are coming up to the end of our time. First of all, thank you, all 300 plus of you who joined us today, who gave up your 12 to 1 central hour to hang out with us and check out automations. Thank you also for your feedback and for your ideas, because so much of this has come from, conversations you've had with your success manager, with our customer care team, with Bruce, with Mike, with us at trade shows. Like this, so much of Printavo happens because of you. So thank you for all that you submit. And again, if you want to try to get on our beta, email us at success@printavo.com. I'll put it in the, in the chat one more time. SUCCESS. Nope, that's wrong. SUCCESS@printavo.com. And I already sent that message. It won't let me send it again. Maybe if I do that,
I can try
smiley face at the end. I did a wink by accident. Well,
there we go.
But email us. We will do our very, very best to get as many people. Well, we will get as many people on there as we can. We can't guarantee that you're going to get on it. But again, in the coming weeks, this is going to be available to everybody. We just ask, please, 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 that if you are on the beta, you just flood us with feedback. That's totally cool. We can't promise everything's going to happen right away, or I guess always at all. But we do want that feedback so we can make this as beneficial to everybody as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been a long time coming. We're so excited about this, but it's just going to get better. So any feedback you guys have, give it our way.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Awesome. Cool. And again, thank you for all your questions. If we missed any, I'm so sorry. I promise it's really not on purpose. You can email us at success@printavo.com. We'll get them answered for you, for sure. Or just email your success manager, whatever. And I think that's all I got. You got anything, Laura?
I'm good.
Okay, cool.
Enjoy our Fridays. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, get these last 6 minutes of your hour back. Thank you all for showing up. And again, success@Printavo with any questions, and with beta requests, we'll do everything we can. Printaco.com. Dude, Bruce, get on that. That's really good. That's really good. I would wear a Printaco shirt. Just saying. Printaco. Cool. I'm totally hungry. Sweet. All right. Thank you again. Seriously, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, everybody in the chat, for helping. Thank you, everybody, for asking. We will see you guys soon. Oh, sorry.